Oh my God. We good? Would all guests please rise for the arriving party and remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. Bells. Chief Water Officer 4, Christopher Stearns, arriving. Isn't he handsome? Ready to go? National anthem. Yep, let's go. I like the mic, sorry.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Hey, that was awesome. Good job. Everybody, please take your seats. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming out for Chris's retirement. I'm not going to stand up for you. A normal person would have a podium. Now, see how they shame me? That's weird. He asked me to do this, and now he's going to shame me into it. All right. Hey, Chris's naval career started in February 3rd, 1999. He attended boot camp in Great Lakes and follow-on orders to Operations Specialist A School in Virginia Beach, Virginia. He then went to be a mud puppy at CDU out in San Diego. I'm going to explain the mud puppy program a little bit. Because obviously, you know, we've got divers of different generations out here. Some of these young divers don't even know what that is. Now they have what they call diver prep, where they send divers up to Great Lakes and actually prepare them for dive school. When we came through, that wasn't what happened. We showed up, we were basically every diver's kind of go boy, gopher. We showed up and did push-ups, bunch of sit-ups, air squats. I don't know how this prepares you for dive school. Like, I don't know, teach me physics, medicine, I don't know, like something, scuba. But no, I mean, really it's just a chance to bullies to bully people. And I think that's why that's not a program anymore. But yeah, he got to do it in San Diego. I actually had to do it in Virginia Beach, and that wasn't very fun. So after Mud Puppy School, he transferred to second class dive school in September of '99, and then went to the chamber in Guam, right? Which is, I mean, Guam's nice, yeah, for a young guy. Anybody? Guam? No? All these guys are Guam over here. Skip, looking good, bud. All right, after 2.5 years in Guam, he came back stateside for demolition school, first class school, mixed gas dive school, and then he had to follow on orders to Hawaii. This is where he'd be at Mudsu 1, Pearl Harbor, Detachment 5. He made multiple overseas deployments, qualified as demolition supervisor, range supervisor, small arms marksman instructor, and unlimited gas supervisor. At which point he would advance to first class petty officer. In 2006, he transferred to CDU. I can't say SWARMIC. CDU, Consolidated Divers Unit, in San Diego, where he would lead the underwater welding non-destructive testing team known as Delta Crew and would be promoted to Chief Petty Officer in 2008. So funny story. I think it's funny.
So when you couldn't get the DC one?
Yeah. So there's 4 crews. There's Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. We all kind of had each other's backs, but the thing that we did every Friday was we hit a bar called McDinny's by like 10:30. That's your tax dollars at work right there.
You got it in the morning.
10:30 a.m. for you folks that aren't military time. I would have said 2200 if for my military folks. So I was well into this day when my phone blows up because I have a emergent job that popped up, and I was way too inebriated to respond to this job. But Chris and the boys are still, and Delta Crew were still back at the shop. So I gave them a call and I'm like, hey, can you guys handle this for us? We're holding it down over here at McDinny's. To which he said, no problem, man. We got you. At 11:45 at night, he calls me up and he says, y'all are going to have to come in tomorrow on Saturday because we didn't get that DC plug off. And I had been drinking for probably 10 hours, and I gave him an entire barrage. What kind of dive supervisor can't get this? You guys suck. Your team is the worst. I let him have it. And then I dove for 3 more days with my team to get that DC plug out because it was so stuck. A DC plug is a wooden plug in a boat. Unfortunately, when it's in water for a long time, it swells. Somebody put a smaller DC plug in than needed to be, and it swelled into this hole and became part of the ship. And we spent 4 days trying to get it out. But he's always been there for me, and that's why I'm here for him right now. A lot of those stories, I mean, I guess that's in between us, that's really more funny than kind of for you guys. But I always call Chris when I'm drunk to make me feel good now, because he literally will tell me, hey, remember that time that I had your back in the day? Yeah. So, 3 years? 3 years at CDU together. Man, we went through a lot. I don't know if you guys know Justin on the end. They lived together for a while. What's that? Prats, where you at, boss? Back over here. Yeah, no, I mean, he was what we controlled chaos, I think is a good word for that. After leaving CDU, went back to Hawaii to STB Team 1 in 2008, and he spent the next 6 years at an NSW compound between STB 1 and NSW Group 3. Qualified DDS, or Dry Dock Shelter Lockout Trunk Supervisor and Diving Officer. And in February 2012,
If there was a podium.
yeah. I just want to let you know, Chris gave me this like a day and a half ago. I asked him, I said, is there like any formality, a 50-40, like anything? He's like, I got you, dog.
I handed it to you.
He handed it to me. At least there's only minimal crayon marks on this thing, all right?
I handed it to you at the Artisan.
That is true. That was yesterday. He transferred back to dive school and attended mass diver evaluations. Mass diver evaluations, so at any given time, there's only 89 of us in the community. Community of what? Probably 2,500?
Well, I think it's
12, 1,400. So I was off by 1,000. I exaggerate a lot, so I apologize. So there's only 89. And and if you take the percentage, it's like 0.02% of the entire community, which are these master divers. It's not easy. I mean, I did it twice. I didn't make it the first time, so I had to go through a second time. He made it actually right after I went through the next class.
I thought it was easier just to do it once.
Yeah. So, not just so basically, it's an accumulation of 15, 16 years of just kicking ass. And that's what Chris did, man. He qualified, he kicked ass, and then you get to Panama City. Even worse story in that. Anybody know how clumsy Chris is? Anybody? Yeah, Brett. You know, at Master Diver Evals, he literally stepped off the curb wrong, shattered his ankle, and finished Master Diver Evals. Not to be topped by the time that he kicked a stump and got compartment syndrome in his leg. I can't make this stuff up. This guy is a walking hazard. In March 2012, he returned to his command and qualified master diver and was promoted to senior chief petty officer. Although Chris loved his job, I can't read this without laughing.
You were supposed to change it.
No, I'm keeping it.
Nick told me to write that.
Okay. I'm going to read this and then we're going to talk about it. Although Chris loved his jobs and deployments, his greatest feat during this time frame was meeting and convincing his beautiful wife, Nikki, to marry him and giving him 2 boys, Brody and Gage. I question this woman's decision-making every day. Love you, Nick. In October of 2014, Master Diver Stearns was selected and promoted to Chief Warrant Officer. He's one of few, very few, that have gone from, what's that?
Neil's being
One of very few that actually went the Master Diver role and then went Warrant Officer. So it's a huge feat. As a Chief Warrant Officer, you're supposed to be the foremost expert in what we do. And in my opinion, unless you go through the Master Diver route, you can't call yourself the subject matter expert unless you've been the subject matter expert. And Chris has done that. And I speak from, Joe knows, I speak from experience. I have a father who was a Chief Warrant Officer who never made a Master Diver, so it's real. At this point, Chris would like to acknowledge his mother and father and to thank them for their love and support over the years. Art, Carol. There's always a but side to that. I bring this up now because apparently he forgot to thank you during his commissioning ceremony speech to CWO2. Well done, buddy.
mission accomplished.
Always. Day late, dollar short, but you made it happen.
Better late than never.
He attended LDO school or limited diving officer school or duty officer school in Rhode Island before checking into EOD ESU2. This is where we got the chance to come back and work together. So I've been thinking about this for a while now, and the past couple of days, and the older divers around here can kind of get where I'm at. Like Chris and I grew up together. Me, Justin, Chris. Like we all grew up together in the dive community. Yeah, the diving community brought us together, but we made each other better people. I know these guys when we didn't have wives, like when we didn't have children, and we just
I had adjusted.
we all had a Justin. Actually, Panama City all has a Justin now. Love you, bud. But we've seen each other at our worst. We've seen each other at our best, and we always pushed each other. That was the good part of the dive community at the time was we all wanted to be the best. And so we pushed each other to be the best. But, when we were at our worst, we're there to kick each other in the ass and get ourselves back on track. And that's what we did. We pushed each other. To see the men that my peer group have become, it overwhelms my heart and it makes me sad. And I think sad in a happy way because I know that I always have this friendship no matter what. Like this is my community. The dive community is there, but this is my community. This is my family. So after he checked into ESU2, He spent over 3 years before screening and being selected for special projects in Bremerton, Washington. And I could not tell you some of the conversations he and I had due to restrictions and legal stuff. But hey, I'm proud of you, bud. You did it. You made it. Congratulations. Infantry, you got it, dog. After a long 4 years and a lot of deployments and time away from his family, with Washington State COVID sanctions, they made their final transfer to Panama City Beach, Florida, where he would finish up his career at NEDU Saturation Detachment. SatFad's Saturation Department, not to get too nerdy on you guys, but it's guys living underwater for a long time, and gals living underwater for a long time, and basically saturating their molecule levels to the pressure in which they're at.
Keep going, Master. You're doing great.
Shut up.
You should teach us.
No. What's a partial pressure? Your mom. Over the years, stations, deployments, and TAD trips, every diver gets the opportunity to make friends and brothers. And I'd like to invite a few of them up to say something now. Before, KG, you all right, buddy? Yeah? You want to say something? No? Before I call up Wade, Nikki wanted me to remind Chris to tell Wade that there's a time limit and to stay on topic. No, everybody that knows Wade Bingham, that's not happening.
What do you want to say?
Yeah, you're the best.
You got a big applause. Think about.
I don't know how you're gonna follow that, Wade. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. All right, Wade, here you go, bud.
So I was threatened at 4 o'clock that if it took more than 30 seconds, I was in big trouble, and Neil Patterson actually threatened me with bodily harm. So this is going to be short. Nothing in the middle, a beginning and an end. So in the beginning of time, we were in Hawaii, and we were at Hooters. My 14-year-old son was at Hooters. He has the same birthday as moi. So he was actually very generous. As the girls were doing all of their tomfoolery, they took my 14-year-old son, put him in the middle of the crowd, and the girls were a slight bit taller than he was at the time, and they may have laid something on his shoulders. He's been traumatized ever since. The only woman that he really loves is his mother and trusts his mother. So anyway, a couple of weeks after that, we found out that Chris had a phobia. He had a big boob phobia. And that's why he let my son sort of go out in front of everybody. Anyway, we had a lot of fun. So that's the beginning of the story. The end of the story is that a little bit of history is during World War II, the United States lost 53 submarines, all hands lost. If you've been to Hawaii and you've gone to the Arizona Memorial and you've gone over to the Bowfin, you probably missed it in the middle. There is an outer circle and an inner circle. 53 pedestals, brass plaques with the names of each one. So they were not coming back not as often as we'd like. But if one of them did come back after a mission, did what he was supposed to, they used to take a corn broom and they would lash it to their mast. And they called it a clean sweep broom. So that's where the clean sweep broom came from. Over the years, we have taken that and we, at ceremonies like this, to extremely distinguished people as Chris, You heard where he's been, etc. And so now I'm getting to the end of the story, is twice, once on the East Coast and once on the West Coast, he was in charge of the most elite Navy divers in the world. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Oh. So now I'm going to make an excuse. I was in Hawaii for 3 weeks. I came back for a few days. I just flew in today from Virginia. I was on a submarine all week, etc., helping out. And I need a little support with the clean sweep broom, and I didn't get it. We're going to fix it later on, but the baseline of the clean sweep broom is done, and I'll show you why I didn't get very much support. You stay seated.
John. Oh my goodness.
Yes, sir. We're flying off on this bitch later on. Nikki, get your broom.
So the first time I made one of these was we were coming off a deployment. The commanding officer of the Parche came up to our space and said, "Can anybody do any fancy work on a broom?" And he had a corn broom in his hand. And of course, being a bosun mate, not a problem. Fox and geese, Turk's heads at the top. And the part that I didn't get the support on is I wanted to have his warfare pin, his medals on one side with a Mark V Master Diver's hat on the other, bolted together with brass. Didn't quite get what I wanted, so I didn't go any farther. Didn't want to poke holes into it right now. We will fix it though. Booyah?
Booyah.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, over the years we have used the clean sweep broom for people that have done it all, been there, done that. And I was trying to think of an appropriate way to give this to him. And now you can stand for a second. Because they say the Iron Men are gone and only their sentimental song lives on. Soft living has taken its toll, they say. They say the Iron Men belong to another day. But I'll stand here now and I'll tell you true that the Iron Men still wear the Navy blue. For when the cry goes out to succor and save, the Navy salver is the first of the brave. Steel ships ripped on coral reefs need Iron Men to free them from grief. 10 fathoms below, a diver grows chilled. He works with his hands, his heart, and his will. Bring back my son from the watery grave. Raise that boat, a fortune to save. Lift that wreck that blocks the port. Can do is the salver's only retort. And from the bitter freeze of the Arctic cold to the heartless heat of the tropic fold, wherever tormenting winds and seas are met, fare forth the salver with zero regret. And when the toilsome deed is done and the fearful struggle with the sea is won, the salver sighs a great amen, and he takes his place with the Iron Men.
That's it?
That's it.
Wait. Holy crap. That's a record. I'm just letting y'all know that's a record.
I just hold on to this. I got you.
I didn't bring you a broom, dude. Just let you know. Thank you, Wade.
Booyah.
Yeah. All right, Skip, ready to go? Without further ado, I'll put this chair right here so you can get a little taller, buddy.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
Can everybody see me? I'm only 3 foot tall.
Chair.
Not as tall as
So
you
I'm-
woke up there.
I'm Skip Gray, and I know all these outlaws over here. And
Closer.
Close to your mouth. There you go.
what? Right there?
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
I
Get
don't
up
like
in there.
that.
Get up in there.
Well, first time I I don't know when the first time I met Chris, but it was in Guam, and it was probably at some party on the beach. But I didn't know who he was, you know, and I remember coming out of my house going fishing one morning, and it was dark, and I thought to myself, who's that kid that told me he wanted to go fishing with me? And so I didn't see anybody, and I thought it was the same damn thing every time we went out there. They'd all get drunk and never show up. Well, I looked in the boat, and Chris was asleep in the boat. So that ended up being a long fishing relationship between the two of us. But I think that led to a lot of stuff that he's where he's at now. There was a lot of people out there at the time that were really good people. There's one sitting in the back. Brian. Stand up, Brian. Stand up. Yeah. And so I think a lot of those stories from the old divers back then, I think I feel proud to maybe contribute to some of that, to his success. But there was a lot of us that did that everywhere around here. So I think he did a great job. I don't know that I trust him. But he didn't trust me. Anyway, that's what I got. There you go.
Thanks, Skip. Actually, it's kind of funny. Taranjo just reminded me of the story I kind of want to tell the group in regards to trusting you. Just to kind of set the scene, Dave Taranjo sitting back here. That's who Chris is gonna, do the watch with and pass his the torch to. But we all worked together. Taranjo was my LPO. Brett was the chief diving officer. Taranjo just told me the story, so I can't even. I'm still trying to process it. He said, "Oh yeah, you remember?" Because Jess goes, his wife Jess goes, which one's Chris? And he goes, "You remember the one that showed up to my doorstep with blood all over him at 10:30 at night?" I don't think warrant officers are supposed to show up at first class's houses at 10:30 at night and say, "Can you help me with blood all over them?" And say, "Do you have a tarp?" To which Andy One Taranjo says, "Yes, sir." Didn't ask a single question. Went to go get his tarp. Come to find out he had a deer that he needed help with. But Taranjo was like, "Thank God. I don't know what crime I was about to be brought into." But this is literally my 3 years working with Chris as him, my diving officer. I didn't know what I was getting into every day, man. I literally would come in and the other officers at the command would be like, "Hey, is your warrant gonna come in today?" I'd be like, "It's none of your business what my warrant is doing." And then they'd be like, "Well, is he gonna wear clothes?" And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, "Well, he usually wears pajamas." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" I'm like, "What?"
That was the same thing. It was the same thing.
No, it wasn't the same thing. Like, it's different. Dude, you were at first class in San Diego. At this point, you're an officer. You've been through Knife and Fork school. You're supposed to have a certain level of, like, officerness.
But they cut a lot of that out of school. The short
Bro, no. You can't do, from the Woody Woodpecker tuxedo to like, you were the worst dresser on the planet. I'm just letting you know right now. Like, you were the absolute worst dresser. It was so bad that my captain pulled me in one time. Captain Wilhelm. He's a good dude, but he's super crazy. Pulled me in one time and he's like, "Listen, your diving officer showed up to a officer function today, and I thought he was homeless." And I was like, "I'm sorry, sir. What'd you just say to me?" And he's like, "I thought he was a homeless man taking food from our little line." And I was like, I felt like I had to apologize, but then I was like, nah. That's how he is, man. Take it or leave it. I'd like to thank you guys for your kind words, Wade and Skip. And now I kind of want to open the floor to you, Chris. Here's CWO4, Christopher Stearns.
Evening, all. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Mom, where's Dad? There he is. Sorry, Chris. Sorry about that. I'll wipe that off later. So, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. Greatly appreciate it. Gentlemen, thank you. I didn't write anything down. I really didn't have a whole lot to say because I've said most of it to everybody at some point, but it was a good career. It was fun. I mean, I got to go all over the world, see countries I never would expect, to do jobs that were amazing, fun, challenging, usually very cold, which always sucked, unless you were in Guam and then it was really warm, which sucked just as much the other way. But you get to meet people like these guys out here, Neil and Justin and Drew and Skip and, well, sorry, I got an Air Force guy up there. It's a DEI thing now. You got to bring them to every Navy event. And then Willie and of course Wade over there and Dave, Brett showing up, helping out. But you get the dive community. It's a community. It's a family. It's a brotherhood, and for the most part. And then everybody trains everybody and brings it on up. And you pass it along, and you just hope that the guys that trained you hope that you take after them and learn something and move forward, and that you pass it down and it continues, and you just get decades and decades of experience and knowledge that gets poured into people, and you move it up, and that's what makes the dive community so special. It's small, it's tight, it's a tight-knit group, and we're all equally crazy, so it kind of all lines up. They actually did a study on Navy divers at one point, and they wrote this whole paper on it, and it's like very likely to get arrested, very likely to run away from home, has a problem with authority. You can go down the list, and it basically describes every person here in blue, except for the Air Force guy. but for the rest of them. But as with any job career, the Navy, as much fun as it is, especially for the service members, it's not always easy for the families. And not only that, but the members too, because you finally make a really good friend, and he transfers a year later, or you transfer a year later, you may never work with him again. You stay in touch, but it's not the same. But those are the guys you keep coming around and coming back to, and you learn. But moving back, the family support is key, and I got to meet Nikki, and as a social worker, she took me on as a project. Jamie, how's she doing?
Failure. She's doing awesome.
But without her and the boys and her manning all the support at home while I'm out the door, and her handling all that stuff, it doesn't work well, because if the spouse is having problems at home and the husband or service member knows about it, well, guess where their mind is? It's on what's going on at home and not in the mission, and that's how people end up dead or missions ends up failed. So it's amazing to have a strong, wonderful woman at home backing me up. So we'll move on to that in a second. So all over, Guam was a blast. I got to meet Skip, a lot of fishing. Got to go to Philippines with him. He completely ruined me, my first career, or my first tour.
He ended up with an Australian accent. I don't know how.
What?
He said I ended up in Australia. I don't know.
Why?
In the Philippines.
And then Hawaii was absolutely amazing at the time, and meeting Wade and some of these guys that really paved the road, especially up at in PAC Northwest at some of those special commands, and a lot of these guys were there, and kind of laid the groundwork for the guys coming through today, and hopefully what Jamie and I did, move forward, will help the community moving down the line, just like everybody else. Hopefully push it forward. You give your 2 cents, and they listen or they don't. And I have my favorite saying is, I'll lead a horse to water, but I ain't going to suck at his ass to get him to drink. So I'll show you what to do. If you still don't want to do it, then I can't help you. So we do what we can, and most of the time the younger divers are, I haven't even swore yet, Ma. I got more to come. But the next advice is, I'm giving it, but it was given to me by Master Diver retired Brian Prashner. This is great advice. So he taught me it works. This advice it works extremely well if you follow it, right? So the first piece of advice he gave me when I made chief was, if you're going to do something, you need to be able to answer the question at the end of how you did it or how you're going to do it in this order. Number one, I'm doing this in accordance with. If you say I'm doing this in accordance with, whether it's a military manual or I'm doing this, whatever instructions you have, you always have something to fall back on if things go bad. Well, I did it in accordance with this. So if I messed up, it's the book's fault, not mine, right? I follow procedure. Second, if you can't go within accordance, it's, in my experience, this has been, this is what has been successful. That only works, by the way, if you have experience. So if you've only been in the Navy for a year and try to use it, it doesn't work. You got to have some time under your belt. And then the third way, if you can't get those first two, is, I was hoping that this is what would happen. And that should get you out of trouble most of the time, but not always. Not always. And then the absolute best piece of advice he ever gave me, and Mom, Dad, you've given me great advice along the years, but what Brian said here is, it's 100% correct. If your first response to a problem or a situation is fuck it, you're probably wrong.
Sounds like Carol would have.
So if you take that on, I promise you'll see good things. If you don't, you'll say fuck it, and you'll do it, and it messes up, and you're like, man, I shouldn't have done that. Sorry, it's, used to talk in the military. There's a lot of civilian here. You may not get all my jokes, but that's okay.
I think I've gotten a single one of your jokes ever.
As long as I find them funny, we're good.
Suck a horse's ass. Who's sucking a horse's ass?
That's why I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
Makes sense. But, so anyway, overall, like I said, I wish, I sat and I thought for a long period of time of what to say. And basically, I love the Navy. I love the dive community. It's been the life for the last 26 years besides the family. The job's great. The people you meet are great. And I couldn't have met a better group of people throughout my career and been through, a lot of cool places and got a lot of jobs done. I'd like to think we did some good along the way, and we had a lot of fun on the way. So, did you get it? Come on up. Do you want the mic in it or out? Out. You're doing great, JW. But with that being said, I'd like to go back to my wife and all the stuff that she did while I was gone, especially in Washington when I was deployed for like 3.5 out of the 4 years we were there. And she was stuck in the house with 2 boys during COVID where they couldn't leave the house or do anything. And how she stayed, well, I wouldn't say she's 100% sane, but how she stayed somewhat sane is unbelievable. And, we lucked out coming here to Panama City where we get to retire, and kids love it. Nikki loves it. Finally got a nice, good group of friends and people to hang out with and take care of us and vice versa and look out for us. So it's been amazing. And on that note, I would like to bring Jamie back up here real quick to recite something that's a tradition for the Navy. And I'll backtrack a second. Sorry. This isn't your normal retirement ceremony that you'd see for all of you that have never been to one. Typically you have like a presiding officer, but I didn't really like officers, so I didn't want one. They always telling you what to do. It's ridiculous. And then there's some other traditional things like the flag passing and stuff, which is, I love it, but I was on burial detail in Guam for 2 years, and it just reminds me of funerals, so y'all can do that when I'm gone. Or just have a party, whichever way. And then there's a couple other little things that happen. I just want it nice and smooth, relax at the beach, and everybody have a good time and kind of say farewell and kind of close that chapter so we can move on to me sitting at home driving Nikki crazy, which I'm really good at. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jamie.
Man of few words. Good job, Chris.
Chris, I forgot one thing.
Oh, shit. Wade's back. God bless.
I'm just glad to see that you're over your phobia.
Oh, the boob phobia. Yeah, he's way over that.
I don't remember having that phobia.
I don't either. I think that's something Wade made up, to be honest. Before we get into the wife stuff, I just wanted to tell you guys about Chris and I's first real grown-up fight.
Well, you and I remember it, didn't
We definitely, like, everybody knows there's three sides to the story, right? His, mine, and then like how mine again. But so Chris being a master diver and a warrant officer, me showing up as a brand new master diver. We had differences on what his job was and what my job was. And Chris told me that he was going to make this certain person the LPO of our dive locker. And I said, no, you're not. And he said, yes, I am. And I said, no, you're not. You're admin officer. I'm in charge of the troops. Master diver. He didn't talk to me for 4 days.
I thought it was a different argument.
No, different. Well, we've had many arguments. This is the first argument. Well, okay. He didn't talk to me for 4 days. We sat in the same office. How awkward. Every day coming in, and I'm like, here you go, sir. This is done. He didn't acknowledge me. And finally, after 4 days, I was like, bro, are we 12? Like, I had to get like a pro level with him. I was like, what are we doing? He's like, well, I didn't like how, that all turned out. I said, well, as long as you know your role and I know my role, we're going to be all right. From there, we became workout buddies, and we started to, kind of jiving. So I think in any situation, in the leadership, you have to have that moment of what's your role? What's my role?
Plus, I was just coming from being a master diver.
He was, and that's the other thing. He was coming straight from being a master diver. So it kind of as a leadership, you got to sit down and you got to say, hey man, we may not agree on everything, but at the end of the day, I'm going to give you a hug. You're going to give me a hug. Maybe a man kiss. I don't know. Sorry about kissing your husband as I go into this really nice Navy wife stuff. Not that we really, okay, yeah, we did kiss, but it wasn't. Nikki, you supported this man, your husband, throughout his entire career. And somebody who is a lot better at words than me wrote down a few words, and this is called the wife swatch. You want to do the other one first? Okay. I'll get back to the wife swatch.
Is it written on the paper?
No.
But you didn't read.
That's it.
When you were out at the bar with Nikki on that?
That's true. That's true.
When you read it?
She was helping me prepare my speech last night at the curve. This is different. It's called the Creating the Navy Wife. Still somebody else wrote this. These are my words. When the good Lord was creating Navy wives, he was into his 6th day of overtime. An angel appeared and said, are you having a lot of trouble with this one? What's wrong with the standard model? The Lord replied, have you seen the specifications on this order? She has to be completely independent, must be sponsored to get on base, and have quality of both mother and father during cruises. Be a perfect hostess to 4 or 40. Run on black coffee and cigarettes. Handle emergencies without Buper's manual. Be able to handle the flu, birthdays, moves, and move around the world and at a moment's notice. Have a kiss that can heal anything from a child's torn Valentine to a husband's weary day. Have the patience of a saint when waiting for the ship to come in, and have 6 pairs of hands. The angel shook her head slowly and said, 6 pairs of hands? No way. And the Lord answering, don't worry, we'll create other Navy wives to help. Besides, it's not the hands that are causing the problem, it's the heart. The heart must swell with pride in her husband sustain the ache of separation, beat on soundly and strongly when is too tired to do so, and be large enough to say, I understand when she really doesn't, and say I love you regardless. Lord, said the angel, touching his sleeve gently, come to bed. You can finish this tomorrow. I can't, said the Lord. I'm so close to creating something unique. Already I have one of the heals herself. When she is sick, she can feed 3 unexpected guests who are stuck in the area due to bad weather and can wave goodbye to her husband from a pier or a one-way and fully understand that it is important to our country that he leaves. The angel circled the model of the Navy wife very slowly. It's too soft, she sighed. But tough, said the Lord excitedly. You cannot imagine what this woman can do or endure. Can she think, asked the angel. Can she think? Why, she can convert 1400 into 2 p.m. Finally, the angel bent over and gently ran her fingers across the model's cheek. There's a leak, she pronounced. I told you that you were trying to put too much into this model. It's not a leak, said the Lord. It's a tear. For what? Asked the angel. It's the joy, sadness, pain, disappointment, loneliness, and pride. You're a genius, exclaimed the angel. The Lord looked somberly at the angel and replied, I didn't put it there. The wife's watch. While Chris answered the call from the sea, Nikki stood on the shore fighting down the fear that he would not return. In his absence, she has had to deal with car repairs, home maintenance, financial worries, children's injuries, and illness. All these and more she has taken in stride so that her sailor can proudly serve our nation. Today, the side buoys will be posted and the bosun standing ready to pipe. And as she has for so many years, a sailor's wife standing waiting on the shore, soon the pipe will sound and her sailor will come ashore for the last time, and his watch will stand relieved, and so will hers. God. Yep. Bosun, post side boys. Chief Warrant Officer Stearns, Navy Diver Chief David Taranjo, front and center. For 20 years, this sailor has stood the watch. While some of us were in our bunks at night, this sailor stood the watch. While some of us were in school learning our trade, this shipmate stood the watch. Yes, even before some of us were born into this world, this shipmate stood the watch. In those years, when the storm clouds of war seemed brewing on the horizon of history, this shipmate stood the watch. Many times he would cast an eye ashore and see his family standing there, needing his guidance and help, needing that hand to hold during those hard times, but he still stood the watch. He stood the watch for 26 years. He stood the watch so that we, our families, and our fellow countrymen could sleep soundly and safely each and every night, knowing this sailor stood the watch. Today we are here to say, shipmate, the watch stands relieved. Relieved by those you have trained, guided, and led. Shipmate, you stand relieved. We have the watch. Bosun, stand by to pipe the side. Shipmate going ashore. CWO Force, Christopher Stearns, retired, departing. Navy retired family departing. Booyah, Master Diver Stearns. That concludes today's events. Thank you guys. Give Chris some love, and thanks for coming. There's going to be food, entertainment, mostly from Chris, hopefully. And thank you guys so much for giving us this time.
Where'd the kids go? The kids going already?
Want to put that back in here?